Hello friends, welcome to my new learning video. This session is the continuation of the variables and constants part 1. So this will be variables and constants part 2. In this session or video we will cover the constants and the naming convention only, as we have already covered the variables. Okay. So what is constant? As I have written, an variable whose value cannot change. ठीक है, once it has been assigned. जब अगर आपने कोई एक वेरिएबल डिक्लेयर किया and let's suppose further you cannot change, okay, Java will not allow you to change that variable or you cannot change that one, okay, so that is called constant. ठीक है, so let's say you are declaring a variable int num equal to 10, right? So number 10 you are defining, and later on in the next line you can change you can update the value of number num equal to 20, so this will be changed. But in case of constants, that should not change. So how you can create a constant? To create a constant, one and only thing is that final. If you are declaring any variables as a final, that will be treated as constant. Okay, so you can give if you are creating any variable, if you are creating any constant, that must be final, and it's good to give that as a static, because if you are creating a constant means you are not going to change the value, and no need to access the constant using instance or object, right? You can directly access using the class name. Generally you may have seen in your project also that whenever any constant is created, you are accessing directly using the class name dot the property name. Okay, class name dot property name. So this way we can create constant. We will have to make that variable as final, and it's good to give that static also. ठीक है, so type of constants are integer constant, real floating point constants, character constants, string constants, backslash character constants. ठीक है, देखिए इंटीजर कांस्टेंट में मैंने भी कैटेगराइज किया है कि डेसिमल, ऑक्टल, हेक्साडेसिमल. ठीक है, डेसिमल नंबर किसको बोलेंगे? द नंबर दैट इज क्रिएटेड विद द डिजिट फ्रॉम 0 to 9. ओके, दैट इज डेसिमल. ऑक्टल फ्रॉम 0 to 7. ठीक है, तो 0 to 7 मतलब क्या कि ऑलवेज ऑक्टल नंबर स्टार्ट्स विथ 0. इफ यू आर seeing any number starting with 0, then by default that is an octal number. Okay, don't treat that number as decimal number. ठीक है, so decimal integer constants you can create. Just create a variable and assign this decimal value. Octal, create a variable means constant and assign the value as an octal starting with 0. Hexadecimal constants are assigned with 0x. ठीक है, 0x, and then you can give any number, so that will be a hexadecimal constant. Real floating point constant is the decimal. If you have any value in fractions like 2.5, so there is a point, right? Decimal, so that is the real floating point constants. Character constants, like if you are creating any constants having the value in single quote, so that is called character constants. String constants, if you are creating any constant having the value a word or a character also, but having in the double quote, not in the single quote, so that will be treated as a string constant. The backslash character means you may have seen somewhere that to go to the new line we do backslash n, so that is the backslash character constants. Okay, so we'll see all these constants in programming, so it will be more clear then. So let's go to the Eclipse just to see the how you can create constants. So here I have created constants. ठीक है, so I have created a class also called constants, and inside this I have created the different types of constants. How we have created this variable as constant? By making that final. You can see here the final static integers. That means this is the integer type. Okay, integer means it's a wrapper class. Okay, not the primitive data type. And then number, the variable name, the reference variable name. Okay, and this is the value. So here I am assigning the 50, so that's why this is called the decimal integer constant. Okay, but if I am creating a variable with the 055, that means starting with 0, so this is 55. Okay. One more thing, I will explain the naming convention also. Here I have written again in the wrong manner, because I just wanted to show that you should not write like this. If you are creating any constant, then you should give in the uppercase only. Okay, you can give like this also, my OCT. Okay, my hex, separating with the underscore, this is also allowed. Okay, so you have to create variable or constants according to the industry naming conventions. Okay, single character naming convention is not strictly not allowed. Okay, I have given here, but this is not allowed. Okay, so I can give here like char const, just for understanding, or char number. Okay, it's a hello world. Okay, so here I can give like hello world. So while giving the naming convention, you have to keep in mind that for which purpose the the value for which purpose you have created a variable or constant, and accordingly you have to give the name, so that if you are going to use, then developer at that time directly know that yes, this constant or variable has been created for this purpose. So intent should be clear. So this is about the naming convention. We'll cover it later also, in the last slide also. So but right now, how we have created a constant? By using this final static I have given, because if I am giving this static, then I can directly access using the class name dot variable name. Okay, see, this is also, I have created one static final. Okay, this is a different scenario. I will explain this later. For now I am commenting this. So this is the constant I have created. Now I am going to print this number. So I am getting this error. So why I am getting this error? Here I have also written num, and this is num. Why? Because of the case sensitive. Okay, so in Java, the name whatever we give, that is of the case sensitive. Okay, so here if I have written in the capital, then I have to give in the capital also num. Here I have given my oct underscore like this, so I have to give in the same way my hex char number hello world. Okay, so here you can see that the type of integer constant, decimal, octal and hexadecimal. So you can see that this is the decimal, this is the octal, this is the hexadecimal. Okay, so if I create any constant, so further I cannot change the value of this decimal number. If I try to change this, then see num equal to 20, 55, 57, anything. If you write, you are getting an error. You cannot assign the value. If you are doing so, then you have to remove that final, so that it will not be constant, and then you can change the value as a like variable. Okay, so I do not have to change, so I will not assign the value. So num equal to 50. So output of that, if you are printing any decimal number, then output will be 50. But in case of my oct, in interview it is asked, they will give you they will create an integer variable starting with 0 and will give some number, and they will ask you that what is the value of the given number. So if I print this my oct, then what will the output? Here I have written 45, but how it is coming? If you don't assume or think that 55 will be printed, because this is not decimal number, this is octal. Octal means 8 to the power 0 into 5. Okay, 8 to the power 1 into 5. Okay, 8 to the power 2 into 0. No need to do that. This is a 0 starting. Okay, so multiply with 0 is always 0, so no need to do that. Only you have to do, at first point it will be 8 to the power 0, and second point 8 to the power 1. Okay, so the number of after 0 whatever we have written, that will be multiplied with 8 to the power n number. Okay, so 8 to the power 0 into 1 5 means 8 to the power 0 means 5 into 1 5. 8 to the power 1 into 5, what will the value? 8 to the power 1 equal to 8 into 5, 40, 45. Okay, so likewise for the hexadecimal also, 16 to the power 0 into 3 plus 16 to the power 1 into 2, that is coming 35. So this way we can get the decimal number of the hexadecimal. We can convert this and that will be the output. Okay, so char number 5 will be 5 and hello world will be hello world. Okay, so let's see output of this program. 50, 45, 35, 5 and hello world. Okay, so this way you can create any constant. So to create any constant like variable, you have to create only one thing, you need to add final, and if you can add a static, then that is also fine. Final, static. As an standard practice, you should add both final and static. Okay, okay, now I am going to create one user defined object. See, private static final employee. Okay, if I will not create this static and final, then what will happen? This is this is one employee class in the other package and I have accessed this one. Okay, now if I try to use the there is one a method called set empid, that is public one. I have to pass some number and that will be set in the employee id. Okay, so here I am getting one error. Why? Because this is one instance one, right? Instance variables. It's not right now, it's not constant, right? And it's written outside of the class, so or sorry, outside of the method. So this is instance one, so need to access this, need to create object of the constant class. Using the object of constants you can access this one. Okay, but if I do not want to do that, then I can make this static. So now the error will go on. Okay, now I can set the value in the this empid. Okay, now after this, if I print this, then what will the output? Let me comment other lines, it will be clear. See, 20. Okay, now as of like other variables, if I make this final, okay, order does not matter. Okay, I can write final after a static also. So order does not matter. Don't get confused, like whatever order you are writing, final or static or final. Okay, so now this is a static reference, right? And I have made this final. So this employee object will be a constant. Constant means we cannot change the value of this employee object. Whatever is set, we cannot change, right? This is we have learned just right now, right? That the value of constant cannot be changed. So just remember that does not apply with the some user defined object. Okay, see here I have written set empid 20. Okay, now what I am going to do, just copy the same line and making this 40. Okay, now let's see what is the output. 20 and 40. That means we are able to change the value of an employee object of employee id. We can change the employee id, right? So how we are doing that? See, if we are talking about any user defined object, okay, so we cannot make that class immutable just by making that class final. Okay, so this object is not immutable right now, this object will be mutable. So how you can make that immutable? For that we'll have to cover in another video. Okay, in another session we'll cover that one. So don't get confused that if you are creating any object as a final, then the property of that object you cannot make, you cannot change. It's not like that, you can change. Okay, so I hope this is clear to you, how you can create constant and what about the user defined. Okay, constant using enumeration. Right now I have created constant directly in this one, right? I can create one enum. Okay, and inside that we can give the value like this. We can create one enum. Okay, we'll give the name, and here I am giving the Kia, Tata, Maruti. So this is car of enum type. So in enum what happens, we list all the constants, okay, of the same type. So this is like a category. Okay, so here if we are giving this car, then we'll list all the cars. Okay, so this is again constant. Okay, this is not going to change. You can directly access it car.kia, car.tata, Maruti. Okay, you can directly access this one. So if either you can create constant using this final static, or you can create constant using this enumeration. Okay, with enum keyword. This is enum is a keyword. Okay, just remember. So to create a constant, a static or final, but here a static final is not required. You can directly create an enum, and that you can use directly. Okay, final keyword. So this is about talking. If to make that any primitive field or any object, we have to give that as final. So that will be constant, but not the user defined. Okay, final variable reference of an object properties can be used. So an object will not be mutable. Okay, by making object final. Clear? Constants points to an immutable location. Value of reference object is mutable. कोई भी हम लोग जब एक ऑब्जेक्ट क्रिएट करते हैं, लाइक वी डिड फॉर एम्प्लॉय ऑब्जेक्ट, सो दिस इज म्यूटेबल. ओके, वी कैन मॉडिफाई दिस वन, सो दिस इज म्यूटेबल. So this is about the constants, how you can create constant, and the now next we'll cover the naming convention. I have written the variable. Let's write is variable or constants, not only the variables. Okay, see, variables are case sensitive. Actually Java is case sensitive. Whatever you are writing in Java, there you have to keep in mind the case senses. Okay, like if you are creating any variable or constant in a small word, okay, in lower word, and if you are creating the same with the same, like let's do this. Here I have created the final static num, right? Let's create one more constant having the num. So Java will treat these two variable, these two constant as different, not the same. Okay, see, I assigned a different value. So this is different constant, not the same one. Okay, so Java is case sensitive. So obviously variable name will be also case sensitive. Okay. Now there are different cases: Pascal case, camel case. So whenever you are creating any variable, you have to keep in mind that which case you have to follow. See, what is the Pascal case? Whenever you are creating any class, that class name, the naming convention follows the Pascal case. Okay, Pascal case example like this: constants. Okay, the first word will be capital, and like let's say if you are creating any class name with of two word. Okay, constant example. So this is refactor. I am doing rename. Okay, refactor, rename. So if I write like constant example, there will be no error, but you should not write like this. The class name always follows the Pascal case sensitive. So constants example. So there are two words constant. One word is the first word is the constants. Second word is the example. So first word character will be capital. Second word character will be capital. So constant example. Okay, so like this we can create constants example. Camel case. Camel case means this is a camel case example. Okay, so a starting character will be a small c. Okay, so if you are creating like let's say decimal number, if instead of this num, if I want to create a variable, let's do this int, okay, decimal number. So how I'll write decimal number equal to 80. See how I have written d small. How this decimal number I have written, d is small and number n is capital. Okay, so in camel case the first character will be a small, and then whatever the if you are creating any variable with 2 words, 3 words, or n number of words, then all the characters, the first characters will be capital. So decimal number. So always you have to keep in mind that if you are creating any variable name or the method name, then you should follow the camel case, and you have think twice that for which purpose you are creating that method or the variable, and accordingly you have to give the name, so that if any developer or users sees the class, then directly he can understand that yes, for this purpose this variable has been created or the method has been created. So this is a camel case. A snake case is a this underscore is underscore snake underscore case. See, I do not follow this snake case, but you can, this is also a standard, because some developers like to some error in the variable name also, right? So they are, you cannot create a variable with a space, right? So this is wrong, you are getting error, right? So instead of this space, you can give one space with the underscore. Okay, this is not an error. So you can create a variable with this, but this is not a standard practice, I means as per my understanding. Okay, this doesn't look good. The decimal the camel case looks good, but with the underscore separation I don't like it. So but you can give this a snake case. Screaming snake case, like the capital, all words will be in the capital. So like the variable I have created here, hello world. Okay, this is a constant. Okay, so whenever you are creating constants, you have to give in the capital case only. This is a standard. Okay, and if there are more than one words, then you can separate with the underscore, hello underscore world. If here you are not separating like this, then it's not readable, right? Means tough to read. So it's better to give underscore in the naming of constant, not in the variable. In variable you should follow camel case, and in constant you should follow this screaming snake case, and for class name follow the Pascal case. Okay, so whenever you are creating any variable, you should not start with the underscore or the dollar symbol. Okay, although this is allowed, you can give this dollar symbol in between or anywhere, but as per a standard practice you should not do this. Like let's say if you are creating any variable with underscore, means it doesn't look good, right? Why should I give this one? We should not do this at a decimal number. So this is not allowed. I cannot give number in the starting. Now dollar, this is allowed, but dollar decimal number, this doesn't look good, right? So as per a standard practice you should note this right like this, but in between as per requirement you can give this, but underscore obviously you can give, dollar also you can give, but as per just need only. But in the starting you should not give, just avoid that practice. One character variable name should avoid. If you are creating any constant or variable with the single word, then that should avoid. You should not give the in one word the variable any naming convention in single character, that should avoid. Constant should be defined in the uppercase only. Okay, now the questions, this is the questions from the variables and constants. So scope of the variables, how to create constants, how to create immutable class. Okay, what will the output if you are printing any number starting with 0? So this is about the leading zeros or left padding. Okay, programming questions of declaring initialization of a variable. So these are the questions that has been asked in the interview, and most they ask about the for the variables from the initialization part, what will be the output of this program if I am doing like this, if I am doing like this. Okay, so if you are clear with the concept that what is the meaning of creating any variable, or how you can create that, or what is the purpose of that, okay, if everything is clear to you, then easily you can answer those questions. Okay, but still if you have any doubt over the variables, constants and the naming conventions, okay, then please comment in comment box. I will try to answer your questions or will guide you like what is the correct approach, okay, as per my understanding obviously. Okay, thank you.